All right, today we're going to talk about dividing fractions and mixed numbers. I know you've been waiting for this, and so we're completing our 2 learning goals for this unit, where we've been talking about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing both fractions and mixed numbers. If I want to visualize what it looks like to divide a fraction, or divide by a fraction, pretend I have 4 pounds of raisins. So each one of these squares here represents 1 pound of raisins. And I want to divide those up into bags so that each bag contains 2/3 of a pound. And I want to know, well, how many bags can I make with these 4 pounds? So I'm going to take my pounds that I've divided each one up into a third, and I'm going to figure out how many groups of 2/3 can I make with my 4. If I go ahead and grab 2 of these, there's one set. So you can see now that I've divided these up into groups of 2/3, and I actually have 6 of them. So there are actually more than 4 groups, which makes sense because each of the 4 was 1 pound, and I divided them up into something that's smaller than 1. So here I've done a division problem, and my quotient, my answer to my division problem, is actually greater than what I started with. And let's just look at what this problem would look like if we wrote it out. We're doing 4 divided by 2/3, and we ended up with 6. So we want to think about why that would be, and what procedure we can use to actually get that every time we divide. In order to do fraction or mixed number division, what we want to know about something called a reciprocal. And a reciprocal, or reciprocals, are 2 numbers whose product is 1. And basically what this looks like when we think about a reciprocal is we take a number and we flip it over. So if we have a fraction, we just flip the numerator and the denominator over. But there are other ways that this can look. So remember, we have 2 numbers whose product is 1, and product tells me that I am multiplying those 2 numbers together. So you can see that 1 times 1 is 1, so 1 is its own reciprocal. If I multiply 3/7 times 7/3, remember when we multiply fractions, we just multiply straight across. So I would get 21 over 21, which is the same thing as 1. And then it turns out that you can find reciprocals of whole numbers too. Remember that a whole number can always be written over 1 if I want to write it as a fraction. And so if I think about flipping that over, that would become 1/3. And again, you can see this if you multiply straight across, just like we do for fraction multiplication, we would get 3 over 3, which is the same thing as 1. So those are all reciprocals of each other.
Look, I made a reciprocal.
Oh, can you do it one more time? One more time?
Look, I made a reciprocal.
But you have to be upside down.
Ow. Look, I made a reciprocal.
Okay. Here are my steps for dividing fractions and mixed numbers. And remember, we are going to start out with this step every time I'm dealing with mixed numbers. I want to change my mixed numbers to improper fractions. My second step when I'm dividing fractions is to change the problem to multiplication by changing the second fraction to its reciprocal. Then I multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and simplify, because those are my steps when I multiply. So this second step right here is the really important one. I'm able to change division problems to multiplication problems by changing the second fraction to its reciprocal and then multiplying. So let's look back at our example here and see if that would have worked. I started out with 4, and I want to multiply by the reciprocal of 2/3, which, since it's a fraction, means I can just flip it over and make it 3/2. You can see I just switched the numerator and the denominator, and then again I'm multiplying by a whole number, so I put that over 1 and I multiply straight across, which gives me 12 over 2, which is the same as 12 divided by 2, which is equal to 6, which is exactly what I got. So you can see that that would work in our first example that we did. So let's see how that would work here with these two mixed numbers. Now notice, I'm taking 2 3/5 and I'm dividing that by 4.5. So I'm taking a number that's smaller and dividing it by a number that's bigger. And so I know that I'm going to get a number less than 1 when I do this. So let's go through my steps and see what that would look like. I am going to first change my mixed numbers to improper fractions. We sure do this a lot, don't we? Hopefully everybody knows how to do that. So this is going to give me 13/5 divided by 9 halves. I have not done anything about the reciprocal yet. I've just changed my mixed numbers to improper fractions. Now my step 2 says to change the problem to multiplication by changing the second fraction to its reciprocal. The first fraction stays the same, and I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of the second number. Now I'm going to multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators, so I am multiplying straight across here. 13 times 2 equals 26, and 5 times 9 equals 45. So now you can see I do have a fraction smaller than 1. This is a proper fraction. So I just need to think about, can I divide this by anything to make it, to simplify it? And I'm looking at this. I do not believe that that can be simplified. If I'm wrong, let me know, but I can't think of a number that divides evenly into both 26 and 45, so I believe that that is as simplified as it will get. Here's your multiple choice question. What is the reciprocal of 2 1/3? So pause the video now and pick the number that is the reciprocal of 2 1/3. And here is your free response question. What quotient, remember quotient means the answer to a division problem, does the model below represent? So think about what division problem I'm showing here and then what the quotient would be. All right, so I'm going to do a couple more examples here. I have 2 fractions. These are not mixed numbers, so we're going to just go through the steps one more time. If I want to do this, I don't have to do step number 1 because I don't have any mixed numbers to change to improper fractions. So I am going to change this division problem to a multiplication problem by changing the second number to its reciprocal, and then I am going to multiply straight across. 2 times 6 is 12, 3 times 5 is 15, and now I see that 12 and 15 are both divisible by 3. So if I divide both of those by 3, I would get 4/5, which is my final step to simplify. So there's a quick example with dividing fractions. How many 1/2 ounce servings of cereal are in a box of cereal that contains 19.5 ounces? I'd like you to pause the video now and see if you can do this problem for yourself, and then I will talk you through it at the end. All right, so you can see after I did the math there, I changed my division problem to a multiplication by multiplying by the reciprocal of the second number, and I ended up with 13 servings.